Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everyone, to this very special edition, episode number 2, Krause and Krause, as we come back to you 48 hours after the Super Bowl on Sunday. Had such a great time, Zander, doing our pre leading into your pregame show. It's great to be able to come back with you tonight here across the JAKIB Sports Network and do a little bit of a recap on what has turned out to be an incredible 2024 season.
No doubt about it. Eagles are Super Bowl champions. We've only got to say that twice in our life here, and I've been alive for both of them, which is a beautiful thing. But an unbelievable season. You know, I think back, Krause, because this season was so special to me, mainly because of the great people of JAKIB Nation. But my first season hosting, you had the highs and lows of the year, and it all ends exactly how we wanted it to, with green and white confetti falling on the Eagles' heads.
Well, no doubt about that, and let's talk about that a little bit. But before we do, of course, the preparations are and the planning is underway in the city of Philadelphia. The parade is going to be Friday. The city of Philadelphia is expecting more people on Friday for the 2024 version of the Super Bowl parade, or 2025 version of the Super Bowl parade, than attended back in 2018 for the 2017 Super Bowl championship. So that means it is going to be a ton of people in the city of Philadelphia.
And there's a rumor floating out there right now. I'll see if I can confirm this for our great people that Krause and Krause are going to be down at the parade. We'll see if we can get that for the great people. But, yeah, it's going to be an unbelievable event on Friday. I know a bunch of our great people who are our great listeners are going to be down there for the event. This is a different city when this team wins. You've been here. You've grown up here. This is a different city when this team wins. You were out today. I mean, the city is happy. The people spend money more. They greet you at the door. They hold the door a little bit longer. So a lot of great energy in the city right now. It's great.
No doubt about it. I just saw a tweet out on X from McManus, Timmy McManus, who made a statement or a reference about the amount of merchandise that is being sold right now. It has blown away every number out there. This fan base is incredible, man. I said it yesterday. I said it earlier today on my first Instagram post, my first short. I said it. I truly believe that this fan base is amazing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And speaking of those shorts, everybody should tune in. Krause is going to be doing a lot more in the network here, but I'm a contributor, as you can see, to the merch that you get. You win a Super Bowl, everybody.
Turn around,
it's a good moment, all right? You get the jacket out. You do what you got to do.
Look at that, brother. That is great stuff.
Yeah, so this is a nice jacket. It's a Super Bowl champion jacket, and I'll be rocking this on Friday in the city. So now everybody's jacked up, and you can tell.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Great again to be here on the JAKIB Sports Network. Glad to be here with the co-host of Birds 365, the owner, the operator of JAKIB Sports, the executive producer of the National Football Show, and contributor with Big Sills on the National Football Show. And as you get ready to go into 2025, I know you got a lot of good things planned, so we'll leave it on the shelf for now.
Right.
But great stuff to you, and a great shout out to everybody on the JAKIB Sports Network. That community is just an amazing thing that you've been able to build. It's going to be a great 2025.
No doubt about it. Not only is it building quickly, but it's building strong. These people are great members of our community. They're not in here every once in a while. They don't check. They're great. They're there every day. They talk. We have relationships. I message them. It's a really great thing that we're building. And, you know, I'm super proud of it. I really am. I'm super proud of what we've been able to do and how everybody has been more ingrained in the channel, and only up from here.
Well, I'm going to throw something out at the very end of the show. It's totally up to you if you want to run with it or not. So let's leave that there for now.
Got it.
And let's get into why we're here tonight. A kind of a look back, kind of a recap on some of the highlights and a couple of lowlights from the 2024 season that ultimately led to Super Bowl 59 and a crush of the Kansas City Chiefs. But let's begin. I think this season and this journey begins back in April at the draft. The draft, of course, in Detroit. And that is where Howie Roseman and this front office went to work and made a couple of key picks or key selections that ultimately would have big contributions during the season.
I mean, you just saw one of the biggest contributions of the year from Cooper DeJean, a pick six. How about that? The 22-year-old on his birthday, a pick six in the Super Bowl on Patrick Mahomes. His first career interception comes in that moment. And then you look at him, PFF graded him today the highest rated corner in the entire National Football League for the entire year. So what a pick that was at pick number 40.
And you know what's amazing about that, Zander? And I don't consider myself an expert. I like to listen to the experts.
Right.
But if you'll remember, I wanted Cooper DeJean in the first round.
Yes, you did. You were the biggest Cooper DeJean guy leading into that draft. I remember that well, and he's really panned out. And then you also have Quinyon Mitchell, another big contribution. And that's not the only contributions that were picked up in the offseason. Obviously, you have Saquon Barkley, you have Zach Bond, you have Mekhi Becton. These are all guys that contributed to this Super Bowl run. And I think it's fair to say we might not have a Lombardi in this city without all of those contributions. So it's been unbelievable what Howie's been able to do, to kind of look at the transition, the Carson Wentz period, just 5 short years ago in 2020. Not many teams can do this. Turn over to a new quarterback, another max contract quarterback, and build a Super Bowl roster again and return there. So Howie's been operating. I say Howie is operating now the best he's ever operated in his career as a GM. And if you look at this Eagles team in this window, you can see it. It's wide open. It's one of the youngest rosters in the NFL. You just talked about contributors, Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. You also have Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. You have on the back end, you have
Jalen Carter, by the way, saved the
Rams
Super
game.
Bowl.
In the Rams game you're talking
about?
In
the Rams game,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, he did. But you got young guys all over that roster. You go to the offensive side of the ball. Jalen Hurts is 26 years old. Saquon Barkley's 28. A.J. Brown's 27. Devontae Smith's 25. I mean, everybody is in the prime of their career, and they're playing at such a high level. You look, I said it today on the National Football Show, I'm going to guarantee we're going to get another one of these things in 5 years, and it might sound bold, and it might be one of those things, but I'm waiting, Krausey, for the city of Philadelphia to have the dynasty. I hear Cowboys fans in our chat, the glory days. The Commanders have had their moments. The Giants won 2 with Eli Manning. You hear the 49ers. Everybody had not everybody, a lot of great teams have their dynasties. And I think it's time for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think they're better positioned now than maybe ever in franchise history. And not many teams can say that after a Super Bowl, right? Even with some of the key free agents that are coming up, I feel really good about where this team is, where the key contributors are. Most of them are under contract. Now I want to get Zach Bond done. I called him my white whale this morning. Get him done. You get him done, I think this team could have another big season ahead.
We're talking about Vic Fangio, and of course the decision to hire Vic Fangio and bring him in as the defensive coordinator. And let's try and get a little bit below the surface on this so I can even get a little bit better of an understanding of how it all works. You certainly have talked to Dan Sileo about this throughout the entire season, but here's a defensive coordinator who comes in, inherits a defense that is at the very bottom of the National Football League just a season ago. And I remember John McMullen having a conversation with you on Birds 365. And the tone at that point was, hey, if Vic can get the defense up to the middle, up to that 15th, ranked 15th
That's exactly
or 16th
what we wanted.
in the league, we're going to be in pretty good shape, because the offense is loaded with weapons. Well, Fangio did a lot more than that. Now, how did he do it? How did Vic Fangio, with his scheme, be able to turn Zach Bond into a superstar, be able to shut down Kansas City when you look, and then you go back and look at some of the other big games on
big
that.
quarterbacks.
Big quarterbacks on that schedule.
Absolutely.
And the defense showed up big every game.
Every single game. And it's a multi-layered answer. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. Now, first, it's players, right? Vic Fangio's been in the league for 40 years.
Yeah.
He didn't come to Philly and reinvent the wheel. He didn't come to Philly and throw out everything he's ever done in his career.
By the way, didn't have a Super Bowl when he got
Didn't have a Super Bowl, right? And he's had many defenses that he's never had a number 1 overall defense in his long, illustrious career that people talk about as a Hall of Fame level career. He's never had he's been in the bottom a lot, but he's never had this level of success. So it's players first, right? You get players that play well and you coach them up well, And a lot of that, I think, goes to Georgia with the pedigree that some of those guys have when they came in. Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. I mean, Jalen Carter, any D coordinator in the league looks at that guy and says, I'd like to build my defense around him with how good he is. And then you go to the position coaches. I think they're quietly a major reason for this. You look at Bobby King, the linebackers coach. He had Oren Burks in the end of the year in for Nakobe Dean. He played lights out through the playoffs.
By the way,
Andy Reid, by the way, so you know, Dre Greenlaw was injured in the Super Bowl last year for the 49ers. You know who came in to replace him at halftime? Oren Burks. You know what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes did? They said, Oren Burks, we're coming for you, and they destroyed him in the second half. He didn't get picked on once in the Super Bowl. Then you look at the defensive line coach, Clint Hurt, big friend of Dan Cilio, former Miami Hurricane player. He's coached up that defensive line. Nolan Smith, I thought he was a bust. I thought he was a bust in week 4. He's come on, at a huge level. You look at Jalen Carter. He's taken that next step toward elite pedigree. Jordan Davis started to contribute late in the year. Josh Sweat with a rebound after restructuring his contract last year. So the position coaches have been excellent. Vic Fangio is putting these guys in the right position to succeed. And then most importantly, the players are playing great, sound, fundamental football. You love fundamentals.
I don't remember the opponent, but I remember the moment. There was a bad penalty taken by Jalen Carter, an unsportsmanlike penalty. It either cost a drive or extended a drive in the game.
It was a Pittsburgh Steelers game, is what you're talking about.
Sirianni went over to give some shit to Carter.
Yeah, I believe that was a Steelers game.
And Clint got in front of him.
Right.
And stopped it.
Right. That was one of the stories this year. You're right about that.
And I kind of remember being taken back saying, wait a minute, Sirianni's the head coach, but it never became more than it was. And I actually had a lot of respect, or my respect for Nick increased when that occurred, because he didn't make a big deal about it.
Right.
He took a step back and he let that thing die and play out, and he put it in Clint's hands, who handled it.
Yeah, and look, this is a people business. John McMullen, to his credit, says this all the time. You get 80, 90 people in a room. Not everybody's going to like each other. And the way I think Nick, one of the most underrated things, because he's no longer a play caller, so he gets knocked for that. It used to be, well, what does Nick Sirianni do? Well, you're managing egos, personalities, all sorts of things, and to try and get one collective, one common goal that everybody can fight for. Whether you love me or you hate me, you're going to respect me and you're going to fight with me. And that's the goal. And he's got a really good knack for doing that, at least it appears, right? Even if you don't like some of his antics, the players play for him, the coaches coach for him, and everything's working. And now we have a Super Bowl ring, his second appearance, by the way, in 3 years. So he's done a really good job at that, managing the people, managing the personalities. And I think that example you brought up was maybe one of the best showings of that.
The schedule begins, the season begins, we get to the bye week, and we find ourselves, and the fan base finds themselves looking at a team at 2-2, right? There's uncertainty. There's fire Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
The offense under Kellen Moore. Can Jalen lead this team? There's criticism. Everything happening in what is the first quarter of the season when they get to that break. What'd you make of that when you were living through that 19 weeks ago?
Yeah, well, look, you look back, and I want to give a shout out to one of our great people who sent me a message about this in December. Prince, his name, Prince Swayze, in the chat, and he messaged me and he said, I think we have a little bit of PTSD from what happened in the preseason previous. We look at this thing and you look back now. I mean, they lost to the Falcons, they lost to the Buccaneers, and they lost to the Commanders this year. All right, let's look at this. The Falcons game wasn't the prettiest game. The team didn't play great. Saquon Barkley dropped the ball at the 1 yard line.
And the Falcon game was the Monday nighter coming off the
Brazil game. Exactly. We're exactly right. Saquon Barkley drops a ball late in the game. I mean, it's not ideal. You're not going to crush Saquon for it, but great players normally make that play, right? That's a play you normally make. He makes that catch, they win that football game. The Buccaneers game was easily the worst game of the year. You got blown out in that game. Nothing looked good. Now, also, you didn't have Devontae Smith. You didn't have A.J. Brown. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jordan Mailata was missing in that game.
So Lane Johnson.
Right. It might have been Lane Johnson. Somebody else was missing on that offense. So, okay, our second loss, we included our missing our biggest and best playmakers. Okay, I can chalk that up. Then you start going to winning streak. Obviously, the other big moment was the Cleveland Browns game when Nick Sirianni was taunting at the fans and everything like that. The other loss was the Washington Commander game where Jalen Hurts was out from the first quarter. So you look at the 3 losses in hindsight and you're like, why was there ever so much angst? And I think it's because how good the roster is, the expectations of the team, the city, the fan base really starts from the top, by the way. It's not just a fan thing. Jeffrey Lurie expects greatness from these guys. And, I think some of that angst set in. Some of us were a prisoner of the moment, me included at times. And then you look back now, and hindsight's always going to be 2020. But boy, what a journey it's been to go through that, to experience that. Many say that early bye week. Not often is an early bye week a good thing. The early bye week was a good thing in that moment. And then they go on a crazy winning streak from there. Lost one in Washington without Jalen Hurts, as I mentioned, and then all wins ahead. And you finish up the season, 18-3. I mean, pretty unbelievable what this team accomplished this year. All the ups and downs, the talk about the passing game, the defense, you name it. We talked about it, and they overcame it all.
It's Krause and Krause here across the JAKIB Sports Network, joining you live here tonight on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. As Big Sil says, hit that like button tonight. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm glad to be here in episode 2.
In your nice retro, the retro Eagle jacket, man.
I go into the closet to dig this thing out,
man. That thing looks good, man.
I hope it looks all right. A little bit of fade on the numbers and everything else, but I wanted to try and match you up with the Eagles, by the way. Super Bowl champions as we broadcast to you tonight. Big story today, of course, Kellen Moore signs on and becomes the new head coach of the New Orleans Saints. We'll talk about that in a moment. He was one of the other puzzle pieces that came into Philadelphia from L.A. With an expectation of turning this offense into a machine, an offense that could put up points, an offense that could capitalize on Jalen Hurts' ability.
Right.
How'd you think he did?
It's an interesting conversation with Kellen Moore because you look back and I'm part of me is upset that he's gone because what were the 2 best, most explosive games of the year for this team? They were the last 2, which is the most important spots. But you come in and you wonder, why were we talking so negative about this offense in the year? Well, the expectation was not to be a run-dominant football. As great as it was and as much as the city of Philadelphia loves that, the expectation was to have that with a high-powered offense, high-powered passing offense. That's why you pay A.J. Brown $32 million. That's why you pay Devontae Smith $25 million. That's why you pay Dallas Goedert $15 million. That never really came to fruition after the bye week because they scaled it back so much. Now, obviously, it all worked out in the end, but I really would have liked to see Kellen continue to build on this. I thought he did a good job. I think he deserves credit for being able to switch up his offense so much. Most guys will have a philosophy, have a scheme, have a concept in mind that they want to run. It takes a guy who can look himself in the mirror and say, what do I need to do for this team? And he changed what he's doing. He's a high-powered passing guy. He had the number 1 passing offense in Dallas 2 times. All right. He went to Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and he did the same thing there. Not number 1, but he tried to get them up in passing offense. And he had to completely change his identity here and could become a run-based team. So I think he deserves credit for that. I think the number 1 thing this team is going to try and do in the offseason is improve that passing game because you put up 95 points in the last 2 games. Okay. Imagine what this team will do. And that's why I've talked about the window this team has.
And I do think his ability to change is, in some kind of a strange way, fueled some of the criticism of Jalen Hurts in terms of how he was running the offense, how he was managing the game, how Kellen was using the stars on that offense with an offensive line that is unmatched by any other team in the league. And I think I feel as though some of that was counterproductive, meaning, and what I mean by that is Kellen was being criticized for managing the offense to the strength of his quarterback. And ultimately, because of that, Jalen explodes in Super Bowl 59 or has a better game in 59, and the Eagles win.
I think there's a lot of truth to what you just said. I also think there's an element of criticism that you can lay on Kellen, where I don't think he did a great job at allowing Jalen to grow in the passing game. If you look at some of the concepts, and this was talked about, and by the way, it's all pie in the sky now, the team's Super Bowl champions, but just to kind of analyze what happened with the offense or where it went wrong or what you would nitpick about it if you're going to nitpick. I don't think he did a great job at giving him concepts. It was all deep stuff, nothing over the middle. There was no short route. I mean, you have Devontae Smith. Give me a 5-yard out. Give me a 5-yard slant. You have A.J. Brown, the number one slant guy in football. So I think some of that was missing, and I think Jalen kind of took the heat because of that. But overall, it all worked out, and, they played their best in the end, and that's what you want. That's what when you dream of what this team can look like in the future, that's what it looks like. I mean, think about it. Saquon Barkley had one of his worst outputs of the year against Steve Spagnuolo's defense in Super Bowl 59. No problem. 40 points.
Let me ask you about that, and thank you for bringing that up. It was on my hit list to try and have to bring that up and have a conversation with you about that. Is it too far-fetched of an idea to think that Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl became the give me,
the decoy, if you will,
to the Kansas City defense, became the sacrificial lamb? Okay, let them shut. I'm not saying purposely.
I know what you're saying.
I'm just saying Kansas City obviously was coming into that game, and Spags was going to scheme to bottle up Barkley. But I rewatched the game, and every run that Saquon had was very similar and very contained.
His longest run of the game was 10 yards.
And very contained, and that was late. That was in the second half.
Right, I agree.
Very, very contained. But ultimately, in those drives, Jalen had a big pass. It's Jahan Dotson down the sideline. And Barkley remained bottled up, but the offense kept going.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of having what you have in this offense with all those skill positions everywhere, all those weapons everywhere. And when Jalen Hurts is at his best and the play caller is dishing out, calls like he was, by the way, my favorite call of the game. The big shot to Devontae Smith. You're up, what are you up, 27-0 in that moment? Kevin Burkhardt on the call. It was an iconic call. He says, maybe run the ball to kill the clock here. And he sees Jalen drop back to throw, and he goes, or take a shot. And Jalen delivers one of his nicest passes, maybe of his career. Definitely one of the nicest passes of the year. He's gotten really good at those deep balls. But that's what you want. That's what you want. You can take Saquon, I can do this. You want to take away the passing game, I can run with Saquon Barkley. That's what this team is built to be. And when you look at them at their best, they're the best team in football. And to be honest with you, I don't think number 2 is relatively close.
When I was watching Jalen Hurts yesterday down at
He's a cool cat, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He's a cool cucumber.
Looks like a cool guy, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to do the show tonight and ask you specifically about Jalen, because I kind of feel as though you have grown up with Jalen from his college career at Alabama through now. Now you've grown up with him in a different way.
Right. I know what you're saying.
But you've been able to experience him in real time. You've been able to experience the benching in Alabama. You've been able to experience the trade to Oklahoma. You've been able to experience him at the Maxwell Awards, getting Player of the Year. All of that you've been a part of, and now this year being able to broadcast and cover this football team the way you have. You've covered Jalen. You know Jalen.
Yeah, man.
You may know Jalen better than anyone else because you've started with him at Alabama.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing. I say a lot on the show. I draw a lot from Jalen. I think he's a smart dude. I think there's a lot of lessons that he subtly says that people say, oh, it's a T-shirt slogan. There's a lot of truth in what he says. Focus on the process. Some of the things that he says, I think he's a wise cat. You go back to that Alabama years you talked about, just to give some people some context. I was at that game, all right? First game of the year. I'm a freshman at the University of Alabama, okay? And the game was at Jerry's World in Dallas, okay? A remote location for the game. Alabama versus USC, okay? Never in Nick Saban's illustrious career at Alabama had he started a freshman quarterback. Going down to that game, we all drove, me and all the buddies from Alabama, drove down to Dallas for the game. We thought Blake Barnett was going to be your starting quarterback. We're in the stadium up in Jerry's World, and out comes Jalen Hurts. We're like, what the hell is going on? Okay. And he leads the team that year to a 12-1 year, and they lost in the national championship to Deshaun Watson and Clemson. 26-2 career at Alabama, by the way, when I was there. I was at the bar in Alabama when they benched him in the national championship. So, no, I've seen it all. And his growth is admirable. It really is. That's the best word I would say, because to take a guy that's been doubted or at least told, you're not yet there in this part of your game to be what I need you to be, right? I got to go to Tua here, or whatever it was. He has worked so diligently in all of his deficiencies to not only get better at them, but to become masterful in them. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL today. He's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL today. And in the latest development, the recent knock on Jalen was, well, he doesn't read defenses well. You start to watch these games, he's looking more and more like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. He walks up to the line. He's surveying. He's reading the defense. He's checking in the new plays. And it's another showing of someone says, me, Stilio, John, the pundits on national TV, he can't do something. He almost takes it personal and says, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it better than most. And it's quite admirable the way he's grown as a player. And I think already he's in rarefied air in terms of Philadelphia athletes. Only 4 years starting here, 2 Super Bowl appearances, more than any other QB in Eagles history. Now a ring, 2 NFC titles. He was near MVP, an all pro. So what he's done here is, again, it's admirable. That's what
I would say this. Never again can anyone ever criticize Jalen and not put him in the category of being an elite quarterback.
Agreed.
You can criticize him.
Right.
What I'm saying is,
Yep.
my point is, you never can say that Jalen Hurts is a top 15, is in the top 15. Jalen Hurts has put himself ahead of Lamar Jackson, above some of the season winners that can't get it done in the playoffs. And I think 2024 is really an exclamation point for Jalen in terms of not only shutting the pundits down, because I don't necessarily even know if he cares.
He doesn't. I'll tell you right now, he doesn't care.
It's validation to himself for the work that he's put in. What have I always told you? If you're willing to outwork everyone in the room, you're going to find success. Just keep working, and that's what he does.
There's no doubt about it. That's what he does. And I'm going off the top of my head here. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Okay, we got Aaron Rodgers is an active quarterback that has a Super Bowl ring. Matthew Stafford's an active quarterback that has a Super Bowl ring. Russell Wilson's an active quarterback that has a Super Bowl ring. Patrick Mahomes is an active quarterback that has Super Bowl rings. I don't know, maybe if you guys in the chat can help me out if I'm missing one. I don't believe there's any other active quarterbacks in the NFL that have a Super Bowl ring. So you have Patrick Mahomes right there next to him, okay, with a shorter career. The guy closest to him right now in terms of achievements and accolades in this league is Jalen Hurts. There's no one even close. Matthew Stafford's been to 1 Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1 Super Bowl. Russell Wilson went to 2 Super Bowls and only won 1 as well. So Jalen Hurts is the closest guy in the league right now to Patrick Mahomes. And to your point earlier, you're going to criticize him, okay, but you know he's an elite guy, right? I can criticize Josh Allen, turnovers or whatever. He's an elite guy. I can criticize Patrick Mahomes, that dumb play there. He's an elite guy. You want to criticize Jalen Hurts? That's fine. He's in the same conversation.
And I will tell you what, and boy, and I think you threw it out there, called it the golden era is about to begin. And I gotta tell you, despite Kellen Moore's departure, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but despite his departure, the foundation of this football team, with where Jalen Hurts is right now, and the offensive pieces that he has, man, we're going to go on a run, Zander.
I believe it.
I mean, this team can go on a run.
I believe it.
Now, I don't even want to think about it. The 2025 schedule is a tough schedule. It's a tougher schedule than it was this year.
Yeah, and includes a lot of.
We'll deal with that when we get to it. But yeah, they could go on a great run.
I think they're going to go on a great run. And again, it might take a longer time for people to realize this, but I'm starting to come to this realization. and the talent's great, and Howie's great, and Jeffrey Lurie's a great owner, and you have a great offense. I think a lot more of that is because of Jalen Hurts than people are willing to admit. There's something about the game of football, about a leader, about a quarterback that it's more than meets the eye. All right. There's an intangible. There's something that you can rally a group of men as a leader of men and get them to play for one common goal. And not only play for it, be so focused on it. All right. And I think he's responsible for a lot of that in this locker room. You also look at some of the defensive additions, a lot of championship pedigree guys. Devontae Smith, obviously from Alabama, won a national championship. Jalen Hurts, got Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Keely Ringo. I mean, there's a lot of guys, Jordan Davis. There's a lot of championship pedigree in that room, and they're really starting to act like it and play like it. And dare I say it, it reminds me a little bit of Tom Brady. All right. Tom Brady was never the most talented quarterback in the world. He was a 6th-round draft pick. Tom Brady never had the biggest arm in the world. Tom Brady had the best intangibles of anybody to ever come through the NFL. When I see Jalen Hurts, I see some Tom Brady in him.
Well, I wonder, and I think as you're saying that, I think about, the big off-season signing of Saquon Barkley, and of course what he's done on the field is unchallenged. It's just incredible. Hard to believe that in New York, Saquon didn't sniff a season like he had this year. Didn't sniff it.
No.
And that goes to show, or goes to support the theory of what talent will do for you when they're collectively brought together and there's a leader leading the way. And I credit Jalen Hurts for Saquon's success. As much as I credit Saquon for Jalen's success. Without it, I think it's a different conversation.
Yeah, I think you get it.
And I'm not talking about the yardage.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
talking about play.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, you get a good bunch of guys with a lot of egos. That's where I brought up Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's a guy that's truly team first. He says, I focus on keep the main thing, the main thing. He truly keeps the main thing, the main thing. And you can't do that if you have a guy that wants to be the MVP or wants all these yards or and I think some of that is there. Now, to Saquon's credit, he's incredible. Okay. Now, it wouldn't be unfair for a New York fan to say you didn't live up to the number 2 overall pick. You give him an offensive line, you give him a good offense, boy, you see what he can do. And he's certainly a number 2 overall pick. But that offensive line, I would feel remiss if we didn't give them a little bit of credit. All right. Jeff Stoutland, that is the best offensive line in football. And it is not close. Okay. That offensive line bullied teams all year. They bullied the Kansas City Chiefs. You remember we did the pregame show, right? Just like this. Who did I tell you was going to be a factor in the game? Chris Jones. We talked about it here. We talked about it. Chris Jones did nothing in that game. Yeah. Nothing. You don't see that from a guy like Chris Jones. So that offensive line is truly incredible. Saquon Barkley is truly incredible. You add those things together. You give Jalen Hurts, all right, his mentality, his ability to take the ball and run. That's created one of the best running offenses in the league.
A first ballot Hall of Famer, Jason Kelce, departs.
First ballot would be bold. I don't know if he'll be first ballot. Close.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I will say he's got there's a little bit of politic in it, right? Not too much, but there is a little bit of, he's very popular now. So we'll see. But yeah.
He's not first ballot. He's sure to go.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer. Jason departs, hangs it up, retires. There's concern about his replacement.
You're right.
Jason picked his replacement.
Yeah.
The year before when he was drafted.
Yeah,
and he had a great season.
And he's been amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
he was a Pro Bowler. Celio Pitt predicted that, and he was. You don't do that. And look, this is another feather in the cap of Howie Roseman. You lose Jason Kelce, all right, and you just put him in the Hall of Fame. I agree with you, by the way. And you lose Fletcher Cox, an Eagle Hall of Famer. I don't know if he'll be a Pro Football Hall of Famer, close, maybe not get in, all right? And you don't even miss him, all right? And other teams, they lose guys like that. They take years to replace these type of players. Years. Sometimes you never even do replace them. You just get a collection of guys and hope they can contribute 50% of what that guy was. The Philadelphia Eagles have replacements in the chamber, ready to go, and they were even better on both lines this year. So it's a credit to Howie for what he's done in building this team, the contingency plans that he's put in place. I mean, even Jalen Hurts, right? Many people say, oh, there's a little bit of luck there. You took a guy in the second round. Okay. People how people react in this city that was an unconventional pick right there. Now people say it was due to be a backup. I get it. It still took balls to do that. It still took conviction to do that and understanding, you might need this guy, and Howie's done a really, really good job at that.
No, man, Howie Roseman. I mean, what his body of work.
Yeah, it's impressive.
In the last handful of years is super impressive. Not only because they're Super Bowl champions, but as you said, the run for this team to become a dynasty is right in front of us.
Yes.
And by the way, Nick Sirianni's going to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to get paid.
He's going to get the extension this summer.
Yeah. He's going to get the extension. He's going to get the money. And I think you have to give Nick credit for being smart enough to know what he doesn't know.
Yep.
And his willingness to turn the offensive controls over to Kellen Moore, turn the defensive controls over to Vic Fangio, and do what John McMullen used to always say: be the game manager on the sideline. Don't be the play caller. Let your lieutenants execute. And I think he did a really good job doing that.
He 100% did. He deserves all the credit in the world. He's another guy I'm going to put into the conversation of, all right, I don't want to hear any more of it. I don't want to hear any more of the emotions, I don't care. I look at the success of the team. I look at the players who hug him after a Super Bowl and cry in his arms. You don't do that to a guy that you don't want to play. You just don't.
I remember Seth Joyner saying on this network, I believe, or I read it somewhere. I remember him saying that players will gravitate to a coach if the coach can make them better at their craft.
Right.
These guys are already elite athletes.
Yep.
All of them.
All of them. Every last one of them.
And if the coach has the ability to make them better, they will gravitate to that coach.
I agree. And I think there's even another element there to you feel like your coach has your back. You feel like your coach wants you to get better, right? You feel like your coach is, even if you don't like what he's doing it for the greater good, for the purpose of the team. And I think Nick has really done a good job at that. And you could even argue him. I mean, shoot, I just gave you the success of Jalen Hurts. Why not the success of Nick Sirianni? This is a 4-year run. We're not talking about a 12-year career. We're not talking about a Donovan McNabb, Andy Reid length tenure. We're talking about 4 football seasons. 4. We've been to 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. Think about that. That's Nick Sirianni. That's Jalen Hurts. That's Howie Roseman. That's what these guys have built, and every last one of them deserves their credit. If you're going to criticize Nick, again, like you said, there's always going to be some criticism on people. I get it. If you're going to do it, put him in the category of some of the best coaches in the league, because he's right there. And by the way, I saw a stat today. All right. There's only 3 coaches in NFL history, all right, that have won a Super Bowl with a 700 win percentage in their career. Now, that win percentage could change. Obviously, he's early in his career. But John Madden and Vince Lombardi, the guy whose name is on the trophy you just lifted, all right, that we have a parade for. Okay, that's rarefied.
Bigger body of work.
Body of work.
I get it.
But what he's done so far should be recognized as greatness, because that's what it is.
A couple more for you, and then we'll get out of here. And I'm glad I'm here on the JAKIB Sports Channel.
Yeah, and I do want to, by the way, before we get out of here, I want to thank everybody. I want to welcome you all in. Hit that like button. All right, we've been talking all day. I do want to check if we got any super chats. All right, maybe we did it. But if we did get a super chat,
you got to get it up, right?
I never leave the people hanging. They drop us money. They spend money to put in our chat and talk to the great people of JAKIB Nation, and to us. I'm going to respond. So we'll check that before we get out of here.
Remember, I can't see it.
Yeah, I know. So I'll go up there. I'll manage.
I can't see everything.
I'll manage that. I'll manage it.
So you manage all that. A couple more for you before we get out of here. And then I want to throw something out to you at the very end.
Okay.
For JAKIB Nation, you decide what you want to do with it, if you want to do anything with it at all. Turning point in the season for this football team, in your opinion, was what?
I think the easy answer here is the bye week, right? You had the bye week. Lane Johnson reportedly met with the head coach. He says, hey, man, we're the best offensive line in football. Start running with us. I think a better answer might be the galvanization from the Cleveland game. And hear me out here. If you remember the Cleveland game, the Eagles won the game. They didn't necessarily win in an inspiring way, okay? I think it was 20-16, the final, if I'm remembering correctly. It wasn't so inspiring. Nick Sirianni lashed out at a fan. Okay. The whole week, me on Birds 365, Stilio on the National Football Show, Orlovsky on ESPN, you name it. Every talk show went right at Nick Sirianni in a weird way. And maybe I'm wrong on this. I'm speculating, but in a weird way, I think it created a shield, all right, around the team. I think they got into their bubble. They got into their zone. They blocked out criticism from the outside. In a way, it was a rallying call. Are we going to bail on Nick? Or are we going to fight with Nick, right? They came together as a unit. The criticism of Jalen and the passing on all those things quieted down for a week, and then they went on an incredible run. I think it was a 10 or 11 straight win streak. So I would turn to that as the turning point. The bye week is where they changed philosophies. The Cleveland game is where I think the team bought in to a championship level.
Let me give you a different example of what I think. The loss to the Commanders.
Oh, that's a good one.
And here's why.
Late, but that's a good one.
But here's why. If you remember in that football game, this defense was carved up late in the game on the last drive that gave Washington the win and gave the Eagles that loss.
Right. Yep.
And if there was, and Jalen was out.
And remember, Devontae Smith dropped late in that game. They would have ended the game. So again, another loss where.
But would you have thought that the defense was going to get carved up in a long drive to win it?
6 seconds left. Yep.
No.
That's a good take by you, actually.
And so that's kind of where I feel as though it all started from there.
Well, the defense was great before that. You could maybe argue that's where they went to the next level. That's where they went to championship pedigree. That's where they got so good that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid had no response. Patrick Mahomes, I've never seen that. Me and you watch the Super Bowl together. We're both looking at each other like, Andy Reid, this is what Andy Reid and Mahomes are. What is Patrick Mahomes doing? And I think to your credit, you might be right about that. That's where that defense really took it up a notch.
Well, one of the other amazing plays that Eagle fans will certainly enjoy and remember. Talk about Cooper DeJean again.
Oh, man.
They hit on Derrick Henry in that game in Baltimore, where if you were going to lose a game, that was the game you were going to lose.
Right.
The Ravens were coming off a bad loss from the week before. There was so much hype against that. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
But that stick from Cooper DeJean, that textbook tackle.
I knew you'd love that one. Yeah.
He didn't crush the guy or knock him out.
He got low. He wrapped him up, and it was a great football
textbook
tackle.
Fundamental play from Cooper DeJean. One of my favorite short memories from this great season.
Yeah, that's a great moment. And if you're Cooper DeJean, that's one you make a screensaver. I mean, that's a big boy. That's a great talented back. That's a potential Hall of Fame running back in Derrick Henry with what he's been able to accomplish. So a big moment there. And he was just 21 years old at the time. I mean, think about that. 21-year-old player just turned 22 in the Super Bowl. And what an addition he's been. I think he's going to have a long, good career here in the city of brotherly love. All right. We've been giving away the Cooper DeJean jerseys all year. You know, the value of those things just skyrocketed. So if you got your Cooper DeJean jersey, well done. They're enjoying that one a lot more today than maybe they thought they would.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Thanks for being with us tonight. We're glad to be here. It's Krause and Krause. I'm glad I get to drop in tomorrow, by the way, on my 2-minute warning. The story of Kellen Moore. So look for that. We'll have that posted early tomorrow. Last thoughts from you as the Eagles now we get to say are Super Bowl champions. Give me some of your last thoughts or takeaways from the season, whether it's your own thought, whether it's a thought from some of the great JAKIB fans in the chat. What are they?
What an amazing season is really what I think. I mean, I think we just kind of recapped almost everything that you went through this year, where you talk about the passing game, you talk about some of the deficiencies early in the year. You lose 2 games, you lose to Baker Mayfield made you look like a sieve. I mean, you wonder at that moment, and then you go through the ups and downs, the peaks and the valleys, and time again, the team prevailed. The team bought in with each other. The team, and I'll use a Nick Saban phrase that Jalen Hurts and those guys use well. They blocked out the rat poison. All right. They blocked it out better than anybody. And they continued to work. They continued to get better. And in a way, it embodies Philadelphia. You got a lot of guys on this team. I mean, people call us a super team now. All right. Let's just run through this real quick. Jalen Hurts was never supposed to be this good of a quarterback. All right. Nolan Smith was called a bust at the beginning of the year. Jalen Carter, people acted like he was a thug who should be in prison. All right. Cooper DeJean was a white guy who can't play cornerback. All right. Quinyon Mitchell was a guy out of Toledo. He's not going to be any good. Reed Blankenship's another white defensive back. What's he going to do in the league? All right. CJ Gardner-Johnson was a locker room cancer. All right. You go to the offensive side of the ball. Devontae Smith was too small when he got drafted. A.J. Brown's a diva and a hothead. All right. Saquon Barkley didn't live up to the number 2 overall draft pick. Yep. Mekhi Becton can't play right guard. All right. Jordan Mailata is a 7th round draft pick, a rugby player. He's never going to be a good player. So this, like, for people who say it's a super team, it is now. It is now. But we didn't go out in the open market and collect a bunch of the greatest players in the league and pay buku bucks like the Yankees or a team like that back in the day. That's not what happened here. This is a team that bought in. Everybody improved. Everybody played for the man next to them. And they truly embodied a team. All right. And now they're Super Bowl champions. Confetti fell on their head. And it already feels like, you know, I listened to Jalen Hurts on ESPN last night. I listened to Jalen Hurts in Disney World. I'm listening to this guy and I'm like, this dude's ready for more.
Oh, yeah.
He's not looking at this like, I arrived.
This isn't the end.
He said that. This is the start. And I'm like, this dude is so focused. I tell you, I told you earlier in this segment, it's inspiring. I look at him. I'm the same age as him. I think we're 2 months apart on birthdays. Like you mentioned, I seen him when I was 18 at Alabama. It's inspiring the way he's able to block it out. You know, there's a quote I always use from him. It's my favorite quote. All right. When you look yourself in the mirror as a man and you focus on the things you can control, that's how you get better. And this entire team does that. I just gave you the list of names. None of them are supposed to be superstars, or there was doubt on all of them. And they have prevailed. They have improved, and they have become the best team in football and world champions.
Wow, clip that audio, man. That was a great recap of that. Again, we thank everybody for being here. It's Krause and Krause. It's his show. I'm just glad to drop in and be part of what the recap is here tonight. Leading into Friday, we'll continue to work on some of those details on Friday. A quick suggestion for you. And again, and I say this knowing that you make all the decisions, and I'm okay if you don't want to do anything with it.
Okay.
All right. We started out our broadcast or our conversation tonight with talk about the 2024 draft and how that draft had an impact on this football team.
Yep.
That ultimately became the backbreaker in Super Bowl 59 with DeJean's interception pick 6 return. That was the backbreaker.
I agree. That's where that game effectively ended. Yep.
And we lead into the 2025 draft, which is going to be at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. So I don't know what you want to do with this. I don't know how you want to do it. I know that we have a tremendous amount of supporters that are part of JAKIB. However you want to do it, if you want to do it, I'd like to send one of our great members of JAKIB Nation to Lambeau Field for the draft.
That would be beautiful.
All right. So we'll send one and a guest. The draft is in Lambeau. I think it's the 24th of April.
Yep, I think
it's always at the end of April. However you want to register them, qualify them, give them away. We'll give them a plane ticket. We'll get them hotel accommodations. We'll get them around the draft. They'll be there for opening night.
I love this,
maybe we'll get it into Friday, and we'll get them the hell out of Green Bay on Saturday because flights are so limited that if you don't get out of there at the right time, you're stuck till Tuesday, and I don't want to pay for a hotel till Tuesday. So maybe we'll get them in there Thursday morning. You'll figure out the logistics.
Yeah,
however you want to do it. But the 2025 season, with some interesting potential moves that Howie's going to make, starts in Lambeau, and you can run with that if you want to.
I will run with that. You know I love giving to the great people.
I know
JAKIB
you
Nation.
do, man. I
they
love
have
it.
Been, well, listen, the reason I love to do it is because they give to us.
Yes, they do.
They show up. They comment. They like. They subscribe. They drop super. They do it. I always say to the people, I could sit here and go live every day. Okay. If you guys don't show up, I don't have a business. All right. So it's a people business. They drive the company. All right. Just as much as any of us drive the company. I'd love to do that. And I want to tell the people about a goal I have for the offseason. All right. Because, people think the season ends. Oh, should we still tune into JAKIB Sports? Well, I'll give you a reason why. All right. We're going to be doing giveaways all off season. All right. We're going to be giving away Super Bowl merch. We're going to be doing, I'm getting the Super Bowl. I talked to Tony today. I'm going to be giving away the jerseys with the Super Bowl patch on them. All right. So we have a lot of those coming. We have 430 members right now on JAKIB Sports. And to shout out to 64 of you who are legend members. I want to get that number to 1,000. If we can get that number to 1,000 before next season, I'll tell the great people, we'll be giving away tickets next year. We'll be sending people to the 2026 draft, maybe 4 of them. And we'll do all of that for the great people of JAKIB Nation. So if the people can help me reach that goal, which is a lofty goal.
It's a lofty goal.
It's a lofty goal. 400 to 1,000 is a big number. But we're going to have a great offseason. We talk every day. It's a community-based approach. And I think it's going to be one of the best off seasons we've ever had. Remember, I've never done a full off season. All right, I started at the NFL draft after the NFL draft last year. So I'm extremely excited for this off season just to do the type of content, prepare for the NFL draft. Let me give you some dates. All right, 16 days away, Krausey, from the NFL Combine starting. All right, 29 days away from free agency starting, and I think you're 72 if I remember that number correctly from the NFL draft.
You're 72, is it that month? Yeah, February, March, April, end of April. Yeah, 72 days.
So you're looking at, we got 16 days of the combine, 29 from free agency, which obviously is going to be big. Milton Williams, Zach Bond, Josh Sweat, Mekhi Becton, some of these guys. And then you're right up ready for the draft. So I'm super thrilled. I don't feel like this thing is over. I know the season is over. The confetti is falling in the parade's on Friday, but I don't think this thing is over. I think this thing is just getting started, and I'm super excited for it.
Well, I said in my close of my 2-minute warning on Jalen Hurts today.
Yeah.
I said in my close, when the parade ends on Friday, Jalen Hurts is already thinking about Levi Stadium.
I agree.
The site of Super Bowl 60. That's where his mindset is. Can you imagine?
We got to get to Super Bowl 60. We got to get all of us, all of the JAKIB Nation, got to get down to Super Bowl 60. So that's going to be great. And Friday's going to be awesome, man. Friday's going to be great. Like I said at the start of this thing, I love when the Eagles win. This is a different city. The people are different. The money is spent. And the whole 9 yards. So I'm looking forward to Friday. It's going to be incredible. The city deserves it. The people of this city, I talk to people in our community all the time, people who have lost loved ones. Most people like you to me, right? Their father introduced them to football and the Eagles and why he's a fan. So I resonate with that so much. And I'm super excited, proud, and happy for all the great people who live in this city, who grew up in this city, who are a fan of this city and this team, whether you live in Philly or not. It's for you. And I hope you guys are enjoying it.
Well, tell me how you're going to do this, because this is.
All right, I'm going to have you stand in the middle. All right, I'm going to be off camera because I got to get up there and read. You know our setup right now.
So this isn't your studio.
All right, so you get in the middle.
And then don't forget, if you can, I want to make sure that you turn around and show off that Super Bowl jacket, which is absolutely, absolutely incredible. Perhaps maybe you'll find a way to give one of those away in the off season. It really is a great commemorative, and it's really been great for me to sit back and watch what you've been able to do, Zander, and listen and watch and enjoy the criticism, the laughter, and everything else that happens on the JAKIB channel. It is amazing. And by the way, and I don't know whether or not he's even going to see this or he's watching this. Can I tell you something? I absolutely fucking love it that JAKIB Nation held Big Sil's balls to the fire. I absolutely fucking love it. And I'm not being disrespectful to Dan. The one thing I love about Sills, he will take his position and he will die on that hill. And he will present real facts as to why he believes what he's saying is to be accurate. But damn, JAKIB Nation busted his ass, and I love it. And Big Sills, I love you. And thank you, brother, for being there.
There we go. We got some super chats. Great words by you right there, by the way. Man in Black checks in, one of our great supporters, one of our members here on JAKIB Sports. Great insight and great sweatshirt, Joe.
I love it, man.
So we got a couple of those.
Yeah, good shit. This one's old, man.
Man in Black again. Man in Black, thank you, brother. I know you can't see me right now, but I'm talking to you, and I appreciate you, brother. You know it's all love. He says, so cool for you to do this, Zander. Great content. Thank you, man. We appreciate you so much. What an honor, Man in Black. I know you can't see me, but what an honor this is for me. People don't know that, but, you know, doing this content with my dad, these are memories I'll have forever. Big Dom Schiano checks in. For next year, how about 12 personnel on offense? I think you're going to use a little bit of that, Dom, with the 2 tight end set with, the big running backs. Dom, I'm thinking they're going to add a running back to Saquon Barkley. We'll see what they do there. No Limit checks in. Joe Krause, the legend, wearing the cleanest Eagles jacket I have seen. So there you go. Those are our 4 super chats tonight. Thank you all for the great super chats here tonight. Thank you all for being supporters on JAKIB Sports. This is who you're supporting right here. So we thank you. We love you. And that was a great segment. Any closing thoughts?
Just a good thing. Listen, I'm gonna leave you with what Merle Reese said today on the Dan Sileo show. This football team in the Super Bowl era is the greatest football team in Eagles history. And I'm paraphrasing the great Merle Reese, but it was great to hear him in his conversation today with Big Sills.
No doubt about it. And if Merle Reese says that, there's some validity.
And remember tomorrow.
There's some validity.
Remember tomorrow on my 2-minute warning segment, the story of Kellen Moore.
I want to tell people a little bit about that, all right? So I've been telling you guys, I want to start doing shorts on the channel, all right? You guys know what shorts are if you're YouTube consumers. We're going to start doing shorts daily, all right? Krausey's going to be the main guy that does them. We're going to post them up consistently every single day. So if you like our live content, if you watch our videos, that's great. Check out our shorts now as well. We're going to try and do some more of them for the channel, help grow the channel, and get more content for the great people. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and your first one was excellent.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight for Krause and Krausey. Don't forget, start bugging this guy about tell him you want to go to the 2025 NFL draft. By the way, we don't put you up in a 1-star or 2-star hotel. Zander will tell you when I do a giveaway, and I think you may have gotten a little bit of it from me, Zander.
I think I got a lot of it
when
from you.
I do a giveaway, I like to do it big, and I like to change the lives of people that are the recipients of the giveaways. So that'll be great to watch how all of that unfolds. On behalf of Zander Krause, on behalf of JAKIB Nation, I'm Joe Krause. See you next time, everybody.
And not to ruin your close, but I got to read these super chats.
Oh,
all right?
Yeah, get them up
So
there,
a couple
brother.
more we got in, all right? And we'll close out quick. Great close by you, by the way. We appreciate everybody for being here. Flexing and stepping. No one is safe in the Thunderdome. You got that right, Flex. Nobody. Dre Tucker checks in. It's great to see fam enjoying the moment. Thank you, Dre. I appreciate you, man, very much. Jason A-Team says, so proud of JAKIB and the growth. So happy we are champions. I love both of y'all on the headset setup. Such a throwback move. Awesome to see the father and the son duo. Thank you, JAKIB, for making a home for all of us. How you doing? Jason A-Team, thank you, man. You know Jason A-Team. I met Jason A-Team. I remember the picture I showed you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's Jason A-Team. So big thanks to you, Jason A-Team, and thanks to everybody.
And Zen, can I tell everybody what I believe, whether this is right or wrong?
Yep.
I've never ever referred to you as my son in the broadcast business. Not because I'm not proud that you are, but I always wanted you to be able to be who you are.
Right.
But it's great to share a father-son moment.
Oh,
I love it.
There's no doubt about that.
So thanks for the reminder.
Yep, no doubt about it. Thank you all, guys. We will see you guys tomorrow.
See you next time.
All right, 8 to 10 on Birds 365. Then we'll have the National Football Show, and we'll keep you all posted. All right. I want to get a crew of JAKIB for the parade. We'll talk about that later in the week. Thanks, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.